Yo, Namaste. I welcome you all to this first discussion on Shri Appaya Dikshit. We all know that this is the 500th year of Srimad Appaya Dikshit's Avataranam. That's what we call. And the intention of this series is to convey the messages of Appaya Dikshit, talk about seminal work, talk about his immense influence on Dharma, and also find a way through his teaching in our own lives. So, for today's talk, I have with me four of the eminent scholars, young scholars, I must say, uh, who have been contributing immensely to the field of Dharma. And they themselves have contributed to the Siddhanta given by Srimad Appaya Dikshit. Because Appaya Dikshit's work spans across so many Shastrangas, uh, I have invited people from different corners of life, different people who pursue different elements of Shastra, and I'm very happy to introduce all of them. First, we have Dr. Gokul Krishna Iyer, who resides in Srirangam and is an Ayurvedacharya by profession. He is committed to spreading the message of Appaya Dikshit very passionately, and in the same series, he also runs a very profound channel called Tamil Siddhartha, in which he regularly uploads uh, different slokas sung by Srimad Appaya Dikshit, and he has also posted several videos in which he describes the biography of Srimad Appaya Dikshit and so on. So his passion to this particular cause, to spread the words of Srimad Appaya Dikshit, is unmatched, and I'm very grateful for him to have joined us in this seminal, in this talk that will give away this discussion to different platforms. So welcome Gokulana, welcome to this talk. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Then we have Dr. Shri Saurabh Trivedi, uh, who is currently an assistant professor in Kushinagar, the government. He has formerly studied in JNU, the Sanskrit language department, following which he joined as a PhD research scholar in BHU. Um, Currently, he has submitted his thesis and waiting for his final examination. Um, his expertise is in Sahitya Shastras, and we would obtain the insights from him with regard to Abhyad Dikshita's work in Sahitya, especially with regard to Kuvalaya Anand, Chitramimamsa, and so on. Welcome, Saurabh. Very grateful for you
Thank
to
you.
have joined us in your hectic schedule. I understand
Thank
that
you. Dhanyawad.
it's been a very busy time for you to have involved in different administrative processes, but grateful for you. I'm grateful to you for have joined us in this conversation. Then we have Dr. Divyasanu Pandey, who is my dear friend and also uh, uh, my friend and guide throughout my college days. So he is a graduate in civil engineering from NIT Surathkal, Mangalore. Uh, After finishing his BTech, he joined as assistant manager in Coal India Limited. Currently, he is posted in an institute established by Coal India in Ranchi, where he is taking on some civil engineering tasks and involved with the new projects and technology. But apart from that, he has also completed his MA in Sanskrit. So he is a rare combination where he pursued his degree in engineering, followed by a master's in Sanskrit. He has also qualified the national eligibility test, it's called as, right? And currently he is cause of dharma and is regarded as a authority in some other books in Sanskritam, and he's also a very so we also were supposed to have Deepak Mishra. Unfortunately, I believe that due to some connection issues, he is not here. But he is a graduate student in BHU and a very astute poet with a huge immersion in Shastras. So it would be interesting for us to have his contributions in this particular discussion. A brief introduction about myself. I'm Harshit. I am currently residing in Port Colorado. I'm just doing my PhD in fluid mechanics, and I have, with the Almighty's grace, I have some opportunity to contribute this cause of Dharma and spread the message of legends to India. So, cutting the discussion and introduction short, I would go straight away to introduce Srimad Abhaya Dikshit to people who are not aware, and then we will move
I
on
need
to,
1 minute.
yeah, definitely.
I think audio is not clear. We all should mute our mobile phone. The one
Okay,
who is speaking, he should unmute. He should be unmuted. Others should be muted, I think.
okay. I feel that currently I'm speaking, so everyone can mute themselves.
And Mr. Divyasanu and Mr. Gokul Krishna, please, I think you should plug in earphone. So
Okay.
audio will be clear. Otherwise, yes, sir. Otherwise, everything will not be clear. Whatever we speak will go to waste.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take your time.
I'll come back in 1 minute.
Yeah. Is my audio? Am I audible now?
Now, yes. Now you are more audible than before.
Okay. Hopefully, it goes well into the recording.
Yes. So now it is clear, clear voice. Yes.
Perhaps our Sanskrit society has been very busy with webinars, so everyone is well equipped now to deal with this kinds of systems.
Yes, I have felt this in Zoom app meetings and webinars. They mute every call and then only we can have clear voice.
Yes.
Otherwise, it is inaudible.
Okay, so Gokulji will join. In the meanwhile, I'll give the introduction of Srimad Appaya Dikshitar so that we move on with the discussion. So, Srimad Appaya Dikshitar was born in Adeyapalam village, which is near Arni in Madras. In the present Tamil Nadu. Earlier, that was Madras state. It is an Agraham village, and his ancestors had their original home on the banks of Narmada River. They had performed the elaborate Jyotisthom and other sacrifices, and they migrated before the middle of 16th century AD to the present state of Tamil Nadu. The members of this group became conversant in due course with Tamil and Telugu, in addition to Sanskrit. Adyapalam, Borakaniyanur, Chetpur, and other villages surround about where these migrants stayed and lived for more than 300 years became, by dint of their hard work, noted centers of learning and trade. These villages originally part of Pallava kingdom and were later ruled by Chola and Vijayanagar kings. So, the father of Srimad Appaya Dikshitar was Srirangaraj Dikshitar, and he was a very pure and committed dharmika and leading a very austere life in the village. But he did not have any progeny till he was 40 years old. So, to overcome this Purva dosha, elderly person and relatives prevailed upon him to go to the sacred Kshetra of Chidambaram and lead a life of penance and prayer over there. There is also another story about, uh, but we will get to this particular narrative. According to Sri Rangaraj Dixit, accordingly, Sri Rangaraj Dixit betook himself and his family to Chidambaram and was a life of serious tapasya there for a period of 6 Every day he did his regular rituals, did the Shiv Puja and Karma Anushtam, and then he was completely dedicated to worship of Lord. Eventually, what happened was that Lord Nataraja, after 6 years, was heard to say that pleased with his tapasya, the Lord has blessed him with 2 sons and 1 daughter. So Sri Rangaraja was elected, and eventually Appaya Dikshit was born. He also had a brother named Acharya Dikshit, and then he also had a sister after 2 years. The forefathers of Sri Appaya Dikshit was great Shiv Bhaktas. They were great scholars, well versed in all Shastras and Smritis. They were adherents of Samveda and belonged to the Bharadwaj code. Then it is known that Srimad Appaya Dikshit has the Agamas, the Puranas, and brought together authoritative statements which dealt with the supremacy of Lord Shiva and also talked about Hari Abheda. And he did his work on Shikhar Mala, Shiva Vichara, and that we see as a series of works that contribute to the thought of Shiva Advaita that we will discuss in our later sessions. And he was also a seminal scholar in the sense that he composed about 104 works, and those 104 works span across all the Shastras. That is, he wrote Vedantic texts, he wrote Shiv Advaita texts, then he had works in Vyakarana, Sahitya, that involves Kuvayanand, which is based on Alankar Shastra, and he also wrote Chitramimamsa. Then he did several works on he wrote several strotas on different devis and devatas. So it's a huge encyclopedia that is presented to us, and it will take a lifetime to go through his works that have been covered in all of these 100 works. So we will move on to our conversation, and if Gokul Krishna Iyer ji is here, I see that he has left the conversation. Is he, Gokul Nana, are you here? Okay, he is not here. But what I'll do is that I'll put up the question to Divyasanu Pandey first, so that we can initiate the discussion, and meanwhile Gokul Nana can join. So Divyasanu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I will ask you the first question just in a second. So Srimad Appacharya, we see that every Mahapurusha, or in a way what we call as Avatara, in some of the texts, Appaya Dikshita has been referred to as Avatara. And there is a specific purpose to come to this planet and restore the Dharma, right? So how do you see that? How do you see the impact of Appaya Dikshita, especially in light of rising disagreements among different Vedanta traditions?
So, thank you, Harshit ji, for giving me this opportunity to have to get a participation in this discussion. And I bow down in front of Adi Shankara and Bharti Tirth Mahaswamiji, in whose guidance we are all going ahead. So definitely, all these personalities and avatars have got a mission. They come down to earth to fulfill some things which are missing on this earth. So during the time of Appaya Dikshitar, what I see that the basic soul of our Hindu tradition was getting faded away. Our Vedas are the pramanas. They say that avidya mrityum tirtva vidyamritabashnute. Avidya, that is apara vidya, doing karma kanda and all those things, whatever are the basic rituals and responsibilities of a person according to what varna or what kind of birth he has got. So that has to be performed, and by performing all those things, whatever punyas we get, on the basis of that we attain jnana, and by that jnana we actually attain mukti. This is what is as per Vedas. But what we see after 10th century onwards, in Vedanta, there were different streams coming ahead, like uh, Dvaita Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, Visishta Advaita Vedanta. Basically, these are all different at very higher level, but in their in their root, they are all the same. They are all the followers of Veda. They consider Smritis as Pramanas. They all have faith in Puranas. So, in daily life and in daily rituals, in the core of Dharma, they are all equal. There should not be any difference. But not giving importance to these basic things, there were a lot of hustle and bustle going on. There was a lot of hustle and bustle going on between these people. So Appaya Dikshitar's life is very important in this respect, because he was the one who was a great scholar of Advaita Siddhanta, who was a great scholar of Advaita Siddhanta, but in addition to that, he was a scholar of all other. He had a very good knowledge of all other Vedantic and other kind of philosophical schools which we follow in Indian. Like, he wrote Nyaya Manjari in Advaita Siddhanta, then he wrote Nyaya Yug Malika for Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. He wrote Nyaya Muktavali to have a good understanding of Madhva Siddhanta. Then he has written Nyaya Madimala for the Shrikant Mata. So his contribution to our dharma is very important. He is the one who has performed all the important yagas, including Vajpayee Yaga. He has done all
Exactly.
karmakandas, all, but he has done the karmakandas according to what one Brahmin should do. He, for we see nowadays many people say, "Oh, we do Nam Japa." So since we do Nam Japa, we don't need to do Sandhya Vandana. There are many such streams also present in this era. Such things had started happening in that time also. We had several scholars. They were not scholars, several saints. In the name of their fame, they used to tell, oh, Veda Jnana is different, this is different, that is different. Just do some Nam Japa, just do this, do that. So that is not the core, that is not the way how Hinduism should be perceived. It is said in Srimad Bhagavad Gita by God Himself, Yash Shastra Vidhi Mutsujya वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम. What is, as per Shastras, that procedure has to be followed to lead one's life. If the person is not following those routes, those parts as told by Shastras, definitely he is not going to have any kind of sukh, or he is not going to have an attainment after this life also. So these were the very important and subtle issues which were and which are being ignored nowadays by most of the people. So in this respect, the life of Appaya Dikshitar is very, very important, and it must be gone through, and important values should be inculcated by all of us, by most of the people in this country. Unfortunately, his works and his contribution are not very popular for
I'd like to
general
make a
public.
remark here
But, uh,
because
boliye,
as
sir.
Sanu was saying, Dikshitendra had a balance of he had a balance between karma anushtanam, between Veda Dhyanam and Shastra Dhyanam, Bhagavad Upasanam and Bhava Bhakti. So he had a balance between all of these. So each one of these is very important. So we cannot say that only one margam is important and the others are not important. So a balance between all the margas is required. That is what Dikshitendra showed.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, Divyasanu, you may complete and then we will move to the next.
Yes, so these are the values. We are born in this punya desa. We are on this punya bhumi. So it is our responsibility to follow our dharma in its true sense. And the true sense is that we have to follow Vedas. We should have full faith in Smritis. We should have full faith in each and every Purana and Uppurana. Whatever is written in Puranas, whatever written in Uppurana, there is nothing. No one is high, is inferior. We have to follow them in as they have been told in Shastras. After following that kind of life, which is full of tapasya, which is as per Shastras, we will inculcate jnana at the end of the life. So this is the core. This is there in Dvait Siddhant also. This is there in Advaita Siddhant also. This is there in Vishishtadvaita Siddhant also. This is there in Agamas also. Everywhere, this no one says that don't do Sandhya. No one says don't go ahead for yagas. If a person becomes a Shrauti, what better can one be in one's life? So these are the things which were getting faded away in those times and which were established again by Appai Dikshitendra. And this is the high time that we have to start thinking away and we should go ahead in that part also. With bhakti, karma kanda is also important, and that karma kanda will give us the ability to perceive jnana in its true form. This is, in my opinion, is the importance of a Pradikshita's life and his contribution.
Very beautifully expounded, Divyasanu.
Excellent.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question I have for Gokul Anna. I want to ask you, Anna, we started with this discussion that Appaya Dikshitar is considered as an avatar. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what are the characteristics of Avtara as seen in our tradition, as in our Shastras, and how does Srimad Appaya Dikshitar satisfy those characteristics and is seen as an avatar?
The very first Lakshanam of Dikshitendra's Avataratvam is his birth. So generally in Avatara Purusha, so generally when Bhagavan takes any avatara as a human being, he takes birth in the family of highly exalted Brahmanas or highly exalted Kshatriyas. In
Anna,
Ramakrishna
if you can turn on the video, please.
Hello?
If it is possible.
Yes?
If you can turn on your video.
Now is it clear now? Is it clear now, Harshit?
I can't see you, Anna. It's fine. You can continue with the call.
Now is it clear?
Yes, now it is clear. Yeah.
Please
Okay.
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So the very first Lakshanam of Dikshitendra's Avataratvam is his birth in a highly exalted family of Brahmanas. His father Sri Rangarajadhvari and his grandfather Sri Vakshasthalacharya were all Nityagnihotris and Abhichinnagni-hotras. So all throughout their lifetime they had been keeping the Shrautagnis in their houses lit. So his father Rangarajadhvari and his grandfather Vakshasthalacharya had performed innumerable yajnas that were very difficult to perform. His father was reputed as Vishwajit Dyaji. So Vishwajit is a very rare yajna which not many people observe. And then his grandfather was known as Mahavratayaji. Hello?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
And Sarvatomukhayaji and Mahakratuyaji. So his grandfather was known to have observed Sarvatomukham and Mahavratam. So these two yagyams were, great yagyams were performed by him. And everyone in their family, so all their Purvajas were Nityagnihotris. So they had Veda Adhyayanam along with Shadangam in their families. So they were experts in Adhyayanam and Adhyapanam of Vedam along with Shadangam. And then Adhyayanam and Adhyapanam of the 6 Vaidika Darshanams. And then they also had some form of Bhagavad Upasanam or the other. So it was in such a great family that Dikshitendra was born. So this is Lakshanam 1. The next Lakshanam we see is just like how Sri Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada mastered Samskrita Sahityam, various languages, and then he mastered the Veda. He mastered all the Shastras at a very tender age. Even Dikshitendra mastered many languages at the age of 5. He mastered Samskrita Sahityam also by the age of 5. When he was 7, he had his Upanayanam and he had his Veda Dhyayanam along with Shadangam, Sashadangam Veda Dhyayanam from his own father Sri Rangaraja Dikshitar or Rangaraja Adhwari. So this is another feat, which shows that Dikshitendra was an Avatara Purusha. Apart from that, the third Lakshanam is that could be seen from his career as an Agnihotri. So what happened is he got married to one of the most celebrated Agnihotris, Sri Ratnakheta Srinivasa Dikshitar. So he was a Kamakshi Upasaka and a scholar of all the Shastras who lived in Kanchipuram. So he was known as Ratnakheta Srinivasa Dikshitar of Shura Samudram Agraharam. So once when this great Pandita, so when he wanted to conquer Apayi Dikshitendra in Vada, he had conquered many great Panditas in debates, but he had not conquered Dikshitendra. So he once prayed Kamakshi Devi and asked her to bless him so that he defeats Dikshitendra in Vadam. Kamakshi Devi appeared herself and she told him that you can only defeat human beings in Vadams because Dikshitendra is an Amshavataram of Parameshwara himself. You will not be able to defeat him in a Vadam. So if you wish to prove yourself as a superior to him, give away your daughter to him. So by that when he becomes your son-in-law, so he will fall at your feet. So in that way when you can bless him, you will become his superior. In that way, you can prove yourself as superior to Dikshitendra. So this is one indication which shows that he was an Avatara Purusha. And after that, so when he married the daughter of Ratnakheta Srinivasa Dikshitar, so it was after that he gets the eligibility to perform Nityagnihotram and all the Shrauta Karmas. Once in Kanchipuram when he was performing Vajapeya Yajnam, a group of Brahmanas came and opposed him. They told him that, so when the procedure of Pashubandham was taking place, it was then that one group of Brahmanas came and opposed him. So they told him that in Kali Yuga, the practice of Pashubandham is completely forbidden. So the animals which have to be sacrificed, so no animal should be sacrificed in a yajnam in Kali Yuga. In the other yugas, that was a yajna. So this is known as Yugantara Dharma and it is never a Yuga Dharma. So to prove that the practice of Pashubandham or offering goats, the vapa of goats as Ahuti to Agnidevata in a yajnam. So Dikshitendra proved that it is even possible in Kali Yuga. So as he performed the Pashubandham procedure, so when he was offering the vapa of the goats as Ahuti into the Agni Kundam, So all the onlookers could see the animals which were we don't call it a slaughter, because this is not and it's not an act of himsa that takes place in a yajna. So the process of taking the pranas of an animal in a yajna is called samkyapanam. We don't call it as killing an animal or slaughtering an animal there. It's a sin to call it that way. It's a great offense to call it that way. So the act of samkyapanam or kratvartha samkyapanam, so it's it's an act of ahimsa. So it never becomes a himsa. So when Dikshitendra offered the vapa as ahuti, all the animals that underwent samkyapanam, so they got divya sharirams, all the devas, siddhas, charanas and other celestial beings, so they appeared in person. So they took these pashus in golden palanquins, and they took them to Swarga. And when all these pashus were being taken to Swarga, they thanked Dikshitendra profusely. So this was one instance of this is one example to prove that he was an avatara purusha. In at another instance, he proved the presence of Agni Devata in his palm. When a pile of clothes were asked to place in front of him, and he showed his palm against that pile of cloth, the whole pile of cloth burnt immediately. That was another instance. And then later on in his life, once when he went into samadhyavastha, so Dikshitendra was also a yogi purusha. So he was also an expert in the anushthana of Ashtanga yoga. So once when he went into the samadhyavastha and was contemplating on the murti of Parameshwara, so all his sons and disciples asked him to reveal what he experienced during his samadhyavastha. So what Dikshitendra did, so he finished the he came from Antarmukhavastha to Bahirmukhavastha in in the middle of the Samadhyavastha. And then when he came back from his Antarmukhavastha, many people could not see him. So there was an asadharanam tejas that was glowing on in his face. After seeing the effulgence that was glowing on in his face, many people could not tolerate it. And many people walked away because they were they got perturbed by fear on seeing him. And then some out of fear they fell at his feet. Many people could not speak anything. Some people could only see an asadharanam tejas, and some people could see the murti of Swami Natarajar in the in Dikshitendra. And when he when some of his sons and disciples approached him to reveal what he experienced in his samadhyavastha, so he came back, he began to speak. And then he began to give shishyopadesham by showing his swarupam. And what came out in that time was completely Advaita Jnanam. So this is one instance, we could say that he was an avatara purusha. So all this is recorded in K.V. Subramanya Shastrigal's Dikshitendra Vijayam and Shivananda Yogindra's Dikshitendra Vijayam. So both of these are written by his own descendants. So this is one Lakshanam. Apart from all these, Swami Sachidananda Tirtha of Mulbana, who headed the Mulbagal Matham and who was the disciple of Jagadguru Shankaracharya Shri Sachidananda Shivabhinam and Nrisimha Bharati Swamigal of Sringeri. So he once told in Srirangam in his Anugraha Bhashanam, all the works of Dikshitendra in different schools of Vedanta, works like Nyaya Rakshamani, work like Kalpataru Parimala Vyakhyanam, Nayamanjari. So all these are all the Advaitic commentaries of Dikshitendra. And then when we go through all the Shivadvaitic commentaries of Dikshitendra, when we have, any person who has a look at all of these works, no, they will have an impression that it cannot be written by an ordinary human being. How is it possible for an ordinary human being to have a great deal of pandityam in Advaita Vedantam and the same amount of pandityam in both Vishishta Advaita Vedantam, Dvaita Vedantam, Shivadvaita Vedantam? And then how is it possible for him to be hailed as a Mimamsaka Murdhanya by celebrated acharyas of Purva Mimamsa Shastra? How is it possible for him to be respected highly by great Vyakarana Vidwans like Bhattoji Dikshitar? And then even in Alankara Shastram, some of his works are considered as magna opera. So when we look at all of these, Sri Sachidananda Tirtha Swamigal says that the words of Shiva Rahasya Vachanam, so these are completely true. Dikshitopi bhavet kaschit Shaivas Chandoga Vamshajaha. The following verse of Shiva Rahasya Puranam, it's extremely true. So the meaning of this half a shloka could be understood only by only when we look at the works of Dikshitendra.
Absolutely, very well expounded, Anna. And it's especially important that in these times, several reformist organizations look down upon the Shraut Karma and how Dikshitendra re-established, conducted those yagya. It is very important for us to look those yagyas and homas in light of re-establishing the dharma. You mentioned several works of, we have already discussed that there are 104 seminal works by Dikshitendra.
Yes.
And
Chaturaji, Samprabandha Jatam. Yes.
Exactly. So from Mimamsa to Vedanta, we need an expert for every work to be discussed. If we want to discuss Mimamsa, if we want to discuss Vyakaranam, and so on. But fortunately today we have someone from Sahitya Shastra, Saurabh Dwivedi ji, and I request him to talk something about Appaya Dikshitendrasya Kubalayana, which is a seminal work in Alankar Shastra. And I may also request him to comment on other works that he did in the same book.
Audible. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you very much to give me this opportunity, and I'm very happy. I have come to know many new things by Dr. Iyer here. Actually, I did not know the details of his avatara, why he was an avatar Purush, but I came to know. I am very thankful to all of you, and we can say in Sahitya Shastra, Tasya Kiyati Gati Tasya Kim Karyam. He has done 104 works in all literature. That is recorded. I think many of works are not cited, not recorded anywhere else. And he had a comprehensive scholarship in every field of knowledge. He has the same guts. He has the same knowledge. He has the same establishment. Yes, sir.
I know regarding the documentation of the names of Dikshitendra's works. So one of his descendants, have you heard of Mahamahopadhyaya, Sri Mannargudi Raju Shastrigal?
न तस्य अहं कार्याणां विषये न श्रुतं मया.
So तेषां शिष्याः महामहोपाध्याय श्री राजुशास्त्रिणां शिष्याः पैङ्गानाडु गणपतिशास्त्रिणः इति आसन्. So he has given a list of the works written by Dikshitendra. So that is an authentic list of which books were composed by Dikshitendra and which works were not.
I have gone through that list. I have already gone through that list. So, but I think there may be many more works. Actually, what have he accomplished? Leave it. But 104 works he has done by him. And
Satyameva.
3 works are considered in Sahitya Shastra.
Satyam.
Three works are considered. Kuvalayana नाम शब्द शब्द अयम अतएव शब्दवीनां चर्चा साहित्य शास्त्रे एव अस्ति एवं नास्ति अतएव सः अपि ग्रन्थः साहित्य शास्त्रीयः ग्रन्थः प्रायः अस्ति तु साहित्य यतो हि व्यञ्जनायाः चर्चा यत्र आयाति तत्र आचार्याः कथयन्ति साहित्य शास्त्रीयः किन्तु पुनः किमस्ति सर्वेषां शास्त्राणाम् अवगाहनं तेन कृतं सर्वेषां शास्त्राणां चर्चा सः करोति अतएव अहं कथयामि वृत्तिवार्तिकं सत्य ग्रन्थः अस्ति साहित्यशास्त्रीयः ग्रन्थः किन्तु तस्य मुख्यं कार्यं यदस्ति तद् वस्तुतः अस्ति चित्रमीमांसा कुवलयानन्दः अयं ग्रन्थः वस्तुतः तस्य मनसि किम् आसीत् अपय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रस्य मनसि ग्रन्थः निर्मातव्यः यत्र ये बालाः सन्ति शास्त्रेषु ये बालाः चिन्तिताः तेषां कृते प्रवेशाय तेषां प्रवेशाय तत्र एकः ग्रन्थः निर्मातव्यः पुनः अपरः ग्रन्थः विदुषां कृते यत्र प्रौढाः विद्वांसः चर्चां कुर्युः तत्र कुवलयानन्दः नाम्ना एव ज्ञायते कुवलयं कुमुदिनी इति पीयूषवर्ष जयदेवस्य एकं कार्यमस्ति एकः प्रसिद्धः ग्रन्थः अस्ति चन्द्रालोक चन्द्रालोक एव ग्रन्थः वस्तुतः कुवलयानन्दः तस्यैव विस्ताररूपः अस्ति कुवलयानन्दः सः किं कथयति स्वीये कुवलयानन्दे अलङ्कारेषु बालानाम् अवगाहन सिद्धये अलङ्कारेषु बालानाम् अवगाहन सिद्धये ललितः क्रियते तेषां लक्ष्य लक्षण संग्रहः यथा बालानां सुखबोधाय क्रियते तर्क संग्रहः बालानां प्रवेशाय ये साहित्यशास्त्रम् अनधीयानाः सन्ति तेषां कृते कुवलयानन्दः ग्रन्थः अस्ति इति तस्य चिन्ता अस्ति वस्तुतः सः तत्र अग्रे एव प्रतिज्ञां करोति कथयति येषां चन्द्रालोके दृश्यन्ते लक्ष्यलक्षणश्लोकाः येषाम् अलङ्काराणां चन्द्रालोक छन्दसि प्रायः तत्र क्षणमस्ति उत्तरार्धम् उदाहरणरूपेण वर्तते उदाहरणं तर्हि चन्द्र एकस्मिन्नेव श्लोके लक्ष्यमपि भवति लक्षणमपि पूर्वं लक्षणं तदनन्तरं लक्ष्यं भवति अतएव प्रायः चन्द्रालोक ग्रन्थे ये लक्ष्यलक्षणश्लोकाः येषाम् अलङ्काराणां वर्तन्ते सः किं कथयति प्रायस्त एव तेषां वर्णनं तथैव वर्तते यथा चन्द्रालोके सन्ति तथैव अत्रापि गृहीताः ये नवीनाः अलङ्काराः सन्ति तेषां लक्ष्यलक्षणरूपश्लोकाः विरच्यन्ते इति सः कथयति वयं चिन्तयामः चन्द्रालोके 8 अलङ्काराः शब्दालङ्काराः वर्तन्ते पुनः प्रायः 96 अलङ्काराः अर्थालङ्काराः वर्तन्ते अत्र सपादशतम् अलङ्काराः अपय्य दीक्षितेन्द्र महोदयेन तत्र वर्णितः प्रायः 25 अलङ्काराः नवीनाः सन्ति तेषु अपि रसवदूर्जस्वी प्रेयसमाहित इत्यादयः 7 अलङ्काराः ये ध्वनिवादिनः भावध्वनि रसध्वनि इति रूपेण स्वीकुर्वन्ति तेषां सः किं करोति अलङ्काररूपेण स्वीकारः चन्द्रालोके ध्वनिवादिनः तत्र ध्वनिरूपेण स्वीकुर्वन्ति अलङ्कारवादिनः तेषाम् अपि अलङ्काराणां स्वरूपम् अलङ्काररूपेण एव स्वीकुर्वन्ति पुनः तत्र किं करोति अलङ्काराः तेषां 10 अलङ्काराः ये प्रमाणाः सन्ति प्रत्यक्षानुमान उपमान इत्यादयः तेषां प्रायः अनुमानम् अर्थापत्तिश्च इत्येतौ अलङ्कारौ सर्वैरेव साहित्यशास्त्रीयैः आचार्यैः स्वीकृतौ किन्तु तत्र अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्रः 10 प्रमाणानाम् अलङ्कारतां स्वीकरोति। एवं कृत्वा सः योजयति, पुनः केषाञ्चित् अलङ्काराणां भेदरूपेण पृथक्तया गणनां स्वीकृत्य तेषां संख्या तेन यावन्तः अलङ्काराः अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्रमहोदयेन वर्णिताः तावत् संख्यकाः अलङ्काराः अन्येन प्रायः न वर्णिताः। भेदोपभेदरूपेण प्रायः सर्वैः वर्णितम्। किं भवति इति तु अस्ति वस्तुतः प्रकरणग्रन्थः, तस्य मनसि तस्य चिन्तने वस्तुतः इदानीम् अस्माकं कृते सः अपि प्रौढः ग्रन्थः, तत्रापि प्रवेशः दुष्करः, किन्तु तस्मिन् काले यत् पाण्डित्यम् आसीत् तन्मनसा सह क्वचित् बालानाम् अवगाहनसिद्धये अहं ग्रन्थस्य रचनां करोमि इति तस्य प्रतिज्ञा आसीत्। पुनः सः किं करोति, चित्रं यदा रचनां करोति तदा अस्माभिः किं द्रष्टव्यं भवति, चित्रांशायाम् एकस्यापि अलङ्कारस्य वर्णने सः पूर्ववर्तीनां सर्वेषाम् आचार्याणां लक्षणं तेषां परीक्षां करोति। दोषत्रयं तत्र सम्भावयितुं शक्यते न वा, पुनः परीक्षां कृत्वा तत्र निर्दुष्टं लक्षणं स्वीयं ददाति इति अस्ति चित्रमीमांसायां। कुवलयानन्दे इयं प्रवृत्तिर्नास्ति। कुवलयानन्दे यथा प्रकरणग्रन्थे स्वीयं सिद्धान्तम् आचार्याः समुपस्थापयन्ति, तथैव अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्रेणापि स्वीयः सिद्धान्तः उपस्थापितः। पूर्वपक्षः उत्तरपक्षः न समुपस्थापितः सिद्धान्तपक्षः। किन्तु चित्रमीमांसा ग्रन्थे अस्माकं दौर्भाग्यं, कालस्य दौर्भाग्यम् अस्ति यत् चित्रमीमांसा पूर्णा न जाता। चित्रमीमांसा पुनः शब्दालङ्काराणां चर्चां न करोति। चित्रमीमांसा ग्रन्थे 12 एव अलङ्काराः वर्णिताः सन्ति। कुवलयानन्दग्रन्थः पूर्णः अस्ति, तत्र 100 अलङ्काराः वर्णिताः सन्ति। चित्रमीमांसा ग्रन्थे 12 अलङ्काराः सन्ति। 12 अलङ्कारः अस्ति तत्र अतिशयोक्तिरलङ्कारः, तस्यैव वर्णनक्रमे ग्रन्थः परिसमाप्यते। अतएव या महती या विशिष्टा चर्चा आसीत् तत् न प्राप्यते। तत्र कुवलयानन्द विषये कुवलयानन्दः यतोहि पूर्णः ग्रन्थः, अतएव तस्य प्रसिद्धिः जाता। अन्ते सः किं कथयति, कुवलयम् इति कुमुदिनी किं भवति, चन्द्रविकासिनी भवति। चन्द्रस्य प्रकाशं प्राप्य एव विकसति, यथा पद्मं कमलं सूर्यस्य प्रकाशं प्राप्य विकसति। अतएव चन्द्रस्य आलोकं प्राप्य यथा कुमुदिनी कुवलयस्य विकासः भवति, कुवलयस्य आनन्दः भवति, एवमेव चन्द्रालोकग्रन्थस्य प्राप्तिं कृत्वा चन्द्रालोकग्रन्थं प्राप्य अयं कुवलयस्य आनन्दः जातः, कुवलयानन्द नामकः ग्रन्थः जातः। चित्रमीमांसा ग्रन्थे तेन प्रायः तत्र या प्रौढा चर्चा अस्ति तस्य प्रभावः कः जातः इत्युपरि अहं किञ्चित् उक्त्वा विरमामि। यदा अलङ्काराणाम् इतः पूर्वं याः चर्चाः आसन्, वस्तुतः ते सौन्दर्यशास्त्रम् आश्रित्य चर्चाः आसन्। यत्र कोमलभावाः सन्ति, कोमला चर्चा अस्ति। किन्तु अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्र महोदयेन किं तत्र परिवर्तितं, का तत्र क्रान्तिः समानीता, यत् साहित्यशास्त्रमपि अलङ्कारशास्त्रसदृशं कोमलेऽपि विषये या गहना शास्त्रीया चर्चा समारब्धा सा अतीव आमोदकरी, अतीव प्रमोदकरी। पंडितराज जगन्नाथः सर्वत्र न एकत्र, यतोहि तस्य सर्वत्र खण्डनं विदधाति, किन्तु सर्वत्र आचार्याः कथयन्ति यत् पंडितराज जगन्नाथस्य उपरि यदि कस्यचन आचार्यस्य प्रभावः अस्ति, यदि सः कस्यचन आचार्यस्य शैलीं स्वीकरोति, सा शैली अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्रस्य स्वीकृता। सः अपि पूर्वेषाम् आचार्याणां लक्षणानां खण्डनं विदधाति, स्वीयम् उदाहरणं प्रस्तौति। सः अपि एवमेव करोति। बहुषु स्थलेषु सः परिहासं करोति, तत्र अप्पय्यदीक्षितेन्द्रस्य खण्डनं करोति, एकम् अर्थं स्वीकृत्य। तथैव उदाहरणस्य लक्षणस्य एकम् अर्थं कल्पयित्वा खण्डनं करोति पुनः अन्ते कथयति यदि अयम् अर्थान्तरम् इदम् अर्थान्तरं यदि कल्प्यते तर्हि अप्पय्य दीक्षितस्य मतं साधु अस्ति, अत्र नास्ति कश्चन दोषः। वयं योऽपि पठति साहित्यशास्त्रे वस्तुतः तस्य अधिकं कार्यं नास्ति, यत् कार्यमस्ति महत्त्वपूर्णं तत् अपूर्णमस्ति अप्पय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रस्य। किन्तु यदा पंडितराज जगन्नाथस्य कार्यं वयं पश्यामः तर्हि पंडितराज जगन्नाथस्य दृष्टिः तावत् कश्चन नावगन्तुं शक्यते यावत् सः अप्पय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रं न जानाति। अप्पय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रस्य कुवलयानन्दे या शैली आसीत्, शैली हिंदी कविभिरपि यदा अलङ्काराणां लक्ष्यलक्षणं कृतं तदा गृहीतं सर्वं, सा शैली गृहीता। तर्हि अप्पय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रस्य प्रभवर्तिषु अपि अस्ति, पुनः तेन संपूर्ण साहित्यशास्त्रीय चर्चा प्रभाविता जाता। कथं मीमांसाशास्त्रीयाः न्यायशास्त्रे अहम् एकम् उदाहरणं दृष्ट्वा प्रदर्श्य विरमामि। तत्र शाब्दबोधभेदेन अलङ्कारभेदः एकस्मिन्नेव काव्ये यदि कश्चन वैयाकरणदृष्ट्या शाब्दबोधं स्वीकरोति तर्हि तत्र भिन्नः अलङ्कारः भवति, भिन्नस्य अलङ्कारस्य विषयः। यदि मीमांसादृष्ट्या कश्चन विचारः करोति तर्हि भिन्नस्य अलङ्कारस्य विषयता। एवं कश्चन नैयायिकदृष्ट्या प्रथमान्तार्थ मुख्यविषयस्य शाब्दबोधदृष्ट्या, व्यापारमुख्यविषयस्य शाब्दबोधदृष्ट्या एवं कृते सति भिन्नः भिन्नः अलङ्कारः भवति इति दृष्टिः केन प्रदत्ता इति सर्वा दृष्टिः अप्पय्य दीक्षितेन्द्रात् एव प्राप्यते। अस्तु, अहम् यदि उच्यते तर्हि बहु अस्ति, पुनः तादृशम् अन्य विषयेषु मम तस्य अध्ययनं नास्ति वस्तुतः, किन्तु इत्येव उक्त्वा अहं विरमामि। अन्यद् अपि आवश्यकता क्रियते तर्हि अहं किमपि वदिष्यामि। धन्यवादाः।
बहु सम्यक् निगदितं भवता। इतोपि दृश्यते यत् भवतां शोधप्रबन्धे अपि कुवलय आनन्दस्य विवरणानि यत्किमपि भवता उच्यते तस्य विस्तारो भवितुम् अर्हति सर्वत्र, परन्तु अधुना तु अस्मिन् विषये तु सम्यक् एव यत्किमपि भवता उक्तं। बहवः धन्यवादाः भवते कृते। तर्हि साहित्यविषयम् अधीत्य किञ्चित् यत्किमपि सौरभ महोदयेन उक्तं ताम् अग्रे नीत्वा किञ्चित् दिव्यसानु महोदयं प्रष्टुम् इच्छामि। अधुना आङ्ग्लभाषायां मया कथ्यते। तर्हि दिव्यसानु, Appaya Dixit had written a commentary on Gyata Abhyathyam, right? And it was written by Swami Vedant Desikan, who was a leading acharya, or who was a leading acharya of Advaita Sampradaya, Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So how do you see that in times when there were different conflicts in different sampradayas, Swami Appaya reconciled them and gave a very holistic perspective in this regard. What is your take on this?
See, as far as literature is concerned, as far as Sahitya is concerned, in my opinion, Sahitya is the application of all different types of knowledges what we have. Purv Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, Alankara Shastra, Saundarya Shastra, whatever, Kavya Shastra, whatever different types of Vidyayah Bahuni Yani Bhagani Santi Tesham Sarvesham Api Bhaganam Yatra Ekatra Ekasmin Kshetre Sammelanam Bhavati Satu Sahityasya Kshetrah Vartate. तस्मिन् साहित्य क्षेत्रे अस्माकं भारत देशे आदि कवेः प्रारभ्य वाल्मीकि कवेः प्रारभ्य इदानींतम पर्यन्तं यत् या तु परंपरा वर्तते तस्मिन् विष्णु शिव देवी इति सर्वेषां मध्ये भेदः न वर्तते। पश्यतु वाल्मीकिना उक्तमस्ति विष्णोः विषये रामस्य विषये तस्मिन् रामः शिवस्य स्वरूपः अपि वर्तते रामे शिवत्वम् अपि वर्तते रामे तु सूर्यत्वम् अपि वर्तते तत्र पुनः अग्रे यदि वयं पश्यामः तत्र व्यासस्य कार्येषु सर्वेषामपि देवानाम् एकत्वं वर्तते श्रीमद्भागवते कृष्णस्य श्रीविष्णुपुराणे तु भगवतः विष्णोः शिवपुराणे शिवस्य श्रीमद्देवी भागवते पुराणे राधातत्त्वस्य देव्याः च कृष्णस्यापि तस्मिन् ततः पुनः कालिदासस्य पश्यतु कालिदासस्य कुमारसम्भवे ब्रह्मणः स्तुतिः वर्तते देवैः पुनः रघुवंशे भगवतः विष्णोः अद्वितीया स्तुतिः वर्तते पुनः तत्र सर्वत्र कालिदासस्य काव्ये शिवस्य भक्तिस्तु लसत्येव स तु विशिष्टः शैवः इति अन्ये चिन्तयन्ति परन्तु स सर्वेष्वपि देवेषु एकत्वम् एव चिन्तयति पुनः या एषा परंपरा एकत्ववादिनी परंपरा अस्माकं भारतदेशे आसीत् सा तु किञ्चित् तस्याः या योग्यता आसीत् प्राचीन समये सा एव परंपरा अप्पय दीक्षितेन्द्रेण पोषिता वर्तते तस्मिन् तस्मिन् सा एव परंपरा तेन पोषिता सा एव परंपरा परिवर्धिता वर्तते तस्मिन् क्षेत्रे तस्य आदित्यहृदय स्तोत्ररत्न वर्तते सूर्यस्य कृते दुर्गा स्तुतिः वर्तते दुर्गायाः कृते हरिहर स्तुतिः वर्तते हरिहराभ्यां कृते पुनः भक्तिक्षेत्रे भक्तिशतकं वर्तते परन्तु एतेष्वपि सर्वेषु कार्येषु यत् एकं तु सर्वश्रेष्ठमस्ति सर्वश्रेष्ठरूपेण चकास्ति स तु यादवाभ्युदयस्य विषये तस्य टीका विशेषतः स्वामी देशिकेन्द्रेण भगवतः श्रीकृष्णस्य 24 सर्गेषु एकं महाकाव्यं लिखितमस्ति तस्य महाकाव्यस्य टीका अस्माकं दीक्षितेन्द्रवर्येण कृतमस्ति सा टीका तु विशिष्टा वर्तते मल्लिनाथ टीका सममेव मल्लिनाथं सर्वे जानन्ति परन्तु अप्पय दीक्षितेन्द्रस्य विषये सर्वे जानीयुः तस्य यादवाभ्युदयस्य टीकायां तु सर्वमपि बहु सम्यक् वर्तते किञ्चिदपि अधिकं नास्ति काचित् तत्र न्यूनता नास्ति अलङ्कारशास्त्रस्य काव्यशास्त्रस्य पुनः धर्मशास्त्रस्य पुराणाख्यानस्य वेदस्य सर्वस्यापि यत् किञ्चित् एकत्र सन्निविष्टता वर्तते सा तु अस्यां टीकायाम् अस्ति अस्यां टीकायां श्रीदेशिकेन्द्रस्य विषये तैरेव आचार्यैः कथितमस्ति इत्थं विचिन्त्याः सर्वत्र भावाः सन्ति पदे पदे कवितार्किक सिंहस्य काव्येषु विपेष्यति
सत्यम्
आम् वेदान्तदेशिकः
एवं श्रीवैष्णवाचार्यैः शरणागतिः इति शरणागतिमार्गः यः प्रतिपादितः श्रीवैष्णवाचार्यैः स्वीयग्रन्थेषु शरणागतिसिद्धान्तः अपि दीक्षितेन्द्रैः सम्यक् प्रतिपादितः तेषां व्याख्याने एवम् उक्तम् A.B. गोपालाचार्याः इति आसन् श्रीरङ्गे एवं तैः उक्तं ते तु श्रीवैष्णवाः पूर्वमीमांसा विद्वांसः आसन् संस्कृतसाहित्येपि ते विद्वांसः तदनन्तरम् advocate आसन् so he lived for 100 years in Srirangam so he once wrote about Dikshitendra so Dikshitendra had the blood of both Smarta and Shri Vaishnava running in him यतोहि तेषां पितामह्यः ताः श्रीवैष्णवाः आसन् so he also had so that is the reason while explaining the Shri Vaishnava Siddhanta Dikshitendra has never made a single mistake. That says A.B. Gopalacharya, who was a great scholar in Vishishta Advaita Vedanta and Advaita Vedanta. So he says that So even at some places, Swami Vyasarajar, the author of Nyayamritam and Tarkatandavam, so he says that even Vyasaraja Swamigal makes, very negligible, very small and negligible mistakes while expounding Sri Vaishnava Siddhantam in his Nyayamritam. In Ananda Taratamyadhikaranam, so there is one Ananda Taratamyavada, so in one chapter there, even Vyasaraja Swamigal makes very small mistakes, and of course, no, it's natural for a person of another sampradaya to make such mistakes in a different school of Vedanta. But even there, Dikshindra has never made such mistakes, says A.V. Gopalacharya. So that is the Anitara Sadharanam Vaishishtyam of Dikshitendra's Yadavabhyade Mahakavya Vyakhyanam.
आमां निश्चयेन निश्चयेन तेषु तु वर्तते एव पुनः yes, this is there, this is certainly this is quite evident in his works. And if you see that the Tika of Mahabharata, Nilakantha Tika, he writes, he does a great job, he does a Herculean job actually, but there are some mistakes here and there, some mistakes related to Vyakarana, some mistakes related to Samas Vigraha, there are some mistakes, but such mistakes, even small mistakes in the works of Appaya Dikshitendra. So this is something which is very, very, very good and actually excellent about his works. So I was going through the works of that Yadava Abhyudayam. So there I saw a very good verse. I want to quote it. उलूखले भक्त गुणे च बद्धम गुणोत्तरे गोपवधूस्तने च येष बद्धुम जगदेक बंधुम दुर्योधनो दुरस्त्यज मृत्युपाशः here Kavi Tarkik Keshari Vedanta Dikshitar, Vedanta Deshikan, he is comparing the attempt of Duryodhana to capture Krishna to the attempt of Yashoda when she was trying to tie him with an ulukhal, with okhali, what we say in Hindi. So this kind of अष्टादशे सर्गे भवेत् अथवा त्रयोविंशति सर्गे भवेत् अहं तु दृष्ट्वा पुनः वदामि आम् पुनः अत्र पश्यतु कवि तार्किक वेदांत देशिकस्य यत् किञ्चित् कार्यमासीत् तस्य उत्कृष्टतां पश्यतु पुनः तस्य महाकाव्यस्य या टीका वर्तते स टीकाकारः एव सर्वशास्त्रवित् सर्वेषामपि शास्त्राणां तत्र प्रयोगः वर्तते application of his knowledge of different schools is here in the country of Yadavabhyudaya. So this is certainly, and this is, if this single work is enough to show his mastery over all different parts of schools of knowledge. So one should definitely, if you are interested in our Indian culture, if someone is interested in our Hindu Dharma in its true form, as said in Vedas, as upheld in Shruti and Smriti, as told by Puranas, one should definitely go through the work of Vedanta Deshika. This is just like, as we say in Hindi, Sone pe suhaga, just like icing on the cake. So once you have the work of Vedanta Deshikan, and that too decorated by the Tika of Appaya Dikshita, such a great scholar, such a great scholar. So this is very important, and through these things we can understand that there are no differences. Differences are there at the level of moksha. For Vishishtadvaitis, the paribhasha of moksha is different. For an Advaiti, the paribhasha of moksha is different. But as far as till Puru Mimamsa portion, till the Karma Kanda portion, we are all same. There is no difference. No Vishishtadvaita scholar will say, don't do Sandhya Vandana. No Madhva scholar will say, don't do Sandhya Vandana. No Agama scholar will say, don't do Sandhya Vandana. The the basic things, the basic principles, the basic do's and don'ts which are told in smritis like Manusmriti, Parashar Smriti, the basic ways to again as told in Puranas by doing different vratas like Ekadashi vrata or like Paurnami vrata, all those different things, these are same for each and everyone. And this is where the contribution of Appaya Dikshitendra is really very important. And we are a bit not very not very thoughtful about it. But this is the high time that in such a situation when everyone is free to define dharma in his or her own way, in the ways which are not according to Shastras, people, they have given up studies of Sanskrit or the basic procedures how one has to think in order to get the meaning out of Shastras. His contributions and his works are very important. We should certainly go through them, and we should try to inculcate values in our lives so that we can, if we have got birth on this Punya Bhumi, in this Bhumi of Varnashrama Dharma, we can get full fruit out of it. We can get enough punyas, we can get enough understanding and dharma and jnana, so that at least we can again born on this earth, or we can get some better loka, or at least we can, or at the most we can get moksha. So the greatest purushartha in all different schools of philosophies, whether it is Vishishtadvaita, whether it is Advaita, or whether it is Purvamimamsa. So this is the importance of his work, and this is very good thing about his work, very particularly very good thing about his work related to the commentary on the work of Sri Vedanta Deshikar. So following Swadharma, Shreyan Swadharmo Vigudah Paradharmat Swadushchitat Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhayavaha. It's said by Krishna, our Swashakha, doing Sandhya Vandana with Swashakha, Upanayana at proper time, be in Bhakti, this is the way to success. These are the most important values, and we are really grateful to Appaya Dikshitendra for his works on these important topics. Thank you.
बहु धन्यवादः दिव्यसानो. अत्र दीपक महोदय अस्ति, सः आगतवान् अस्ति. दीपक महोदय, श्रूयते मम ध्वनिः वा? दीपक, मम ध्वनिः श्रूयते वा? भवान् अन्म्यूट् कृत्वा किमपि वदतु. किञ्चित् श्रोतुम् इच्छामि यत् यदि श्रूयते तस्य ध्वनिः तर्हि तस्य अपि टिप्पणीं वयं ध्वनि अवरोध इति उक्तं तेन. अस्तु, चिन्ता नास्ति, अग्रे सरामः. किञ्चित् अग्रिम अस्माभिः नियोजिता वार्तायां भवताम् अपि टिप्पणीं ग्राह्या भविष्यति. Gokul Krishna Anna, I'll ask you last question. अन्तिमः प्रश्नः. तर्हि समयो तर्हि last question would be that
Yes.
Can you tell us that we have learned a lot about Appaya Dikshitendra, although this subject should have come earlier. So it is said that Appaya Dikshitendra founded a school called Seva.
The audio is not clear. There is some disturbance there.
दीपकः किञ्चित् वक्तुम् इच्छति.
हरि ओम्.
ध्वनि श्रूयते मह्यं?
धन्यवादः।
दीपक स्वागतम्।
धन्योऽस्मि। तत्र मध्ये
वदतु।
कश्चन अवरोधः समायातः एतावता तत्र पूर्वमेव मया न शक्यं तत्र योक्तुं, किन्तु इदानीं मन्ये भगवतः विश्वनाथस्य कृपया सम्यक् भविष्यति सर्वं। तर्हि मया पूर्वमेव श्रुतं अनेकेषां विदुषां तत्र भवतां तथा च अस्माकम् अग्रजवर्याः किन्तु यदि सम्यक्तया श्रुति तर्हि किञ्चित् इदानीं वच्मि।
आम् दीपक, तत्र भवतां ध्वनिः न श्रूयते, किञ्चित् सम्पर्क अवरोधः। अस्तु, नास्ति चिन्ता। गोकुल महोदय, भवान् एव समापयतु।
Shall we continue?
आम् आम्।
What was the question?
The question was that it is said that Swami Appaya Dikshita propounded the Siddhanta of Shiva Advaita. Can you briefly tell us that what is this Siddhanta, whether he expounded this Siddhanta as a different Siddhanta from Advaita Siddhanta, and what are its characteristics and how it makes it unique, or is it part of Advaita Siddhanta?
Advaita Vedanta and Shivadvaita Vedanta are two different schools of schools in Vedanta. Just like how Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada wrote Bhashyam on Brahma Sutras, just like how Swami Ramanujacharya wrote Bhashyam on Brahma Sutras, just like how Madhvacharya wrote Bhashyam on Brahma Sutras. So there was an ancient Shivacharya known as Srikantacharya. He had also written a Bhashyam on Brahma Sutras. So he was the Sthapakacharya of a Shaiva Sampradaya, which was there in Tamil Nadu in the past centuries. So it was this school of Shaiva Vedanta which Dikshitendra had contributed to. By birth, Dikshitendra was, both by birth as well as by faith, Dikshitendra was an Advaiti. He was a Smarta by birth, and he was also, by faith, he was a staunch Advaiti. But, he had a great love for Srikantacharya school of Shivadvaita Vedanta. So, the reason, Dikshitendra did not, create a new Siddhantam of his own. So, the Dikshitendra did not do that. He only contributed to different schools of Vedanta. That is it.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Anna, for this wonderful talk, Divyasanu. Thank you for participating in this talk. And I see that we are running late by around 13 minutes. We had planned this talk to be of around 1 hour. But I'm very...
Yeah. Harshit, before we finish the session, we'll finish it with a Mangala Shlokam.
Definitely, we'll do that. I'll just post the last comment and then we can finally do the Mangala. Yeah. So, we are happy to cover different aspects of Appaya Dikshita's life, although 1 hour is a very, very short time to do that. But what we plan to do in next talk is that now on we take one specific topic or one specific area of work by Srimad Appaya Dikshita, and we'll try to do a charcha on that particular topic in that 1 hour And as we said that this is the 500th year of his Avataranam, so we will keep on posting these videos, these discussions, and we hope at Swami Appaya Dikshitendra's Jeevan Chatram is broadcasted on national television, and his message is taken to most people possible in this country. So, Anand, I'll ask you to do one Mangal Shloka or any Kriti that you like by Srimad Appaya
Okay.
Dikshitendra's.
श्रीमत्क्षीरतरङ्गिणी तटगते पुण्ये विरिञ्चे पुरे नित्यं सन्निहितं किलाकलयितुं क्षीराभिषेकादरं श्रीगारुत्मतवल्लिका सहचरं मार्गे सहायं नृणां श्रीमद्दीक्षितविप्रदैवतवरं सञ्चिन्तये शङ्करम्।
उत्तमं, बहु बहु सम्यक् आसीत्। तर्हि धन्यवादः सर्वेभ्यो, सर्वे श्रोतृभ्यो एवञ्च सर्वे वक्तृभ्यो च। अधुना विरमामः, पुनः मिलामः अस्मिन्नेव सम्पुटे।
महान् सन्तोषः।
धन्यवादः।
धन्यवादः।